Uber to pay $15 million in record labor settlement with Seattle, impacting more than 16,000, they say couriers, but drivers. So imagine this. We've heard the 15 million. We've heard the states for DoorDash stealing tips for the 3-year period in every city and every state in the country because it was the same program. Again, if your city is not, or your state has not sued DoorDash for 2017 to 2019, reach out to your elected officials and make sure they know. That is, or it could be like $5 to $30 million of pay from DoorDash that your city state is owed. But anyway, 15 million. This is for a city. This is for Seattle. Uber Eats has agreed to pay $15 million to more than 16,000 delivery workers in Seattle after reaching a settlement with the city's labor standards office over allegations that the tech giant violated regulating how workers are paid. The majority of the settlement was related to the city's Independent Contractor Protections ordinance, and that's referred to as the ICP in Seattle, which passed in 2021 and aims to ensure pay transparency. The city alleged that Uber Eats misled workers by not disclosing its boost multiplier feature only applied to a portion of a fare, and that the upfront payment amount already included the quote-unquote boost promotions contribution. Follow that? Basically saying, like, we have this all laid out, but we didn't have it laid out for what happens during the multiplier. Uber ended the boost program in Seattle in August of 2023 after the city contacted the company, according to the Office of Labor Standards, the OLS. Regulators also investigated Uber Eats for allegedly failing to provide minimum pay for certain canceled orders per city's app-based worker minimum payment ordinance. That's the ABWMP, passed in 2022. Guys, the reason I'm doing this is, I've told you this before, there's the Seattle Pay Up legislation, there's the app-based workers minimum payment ordinance, there's the Independent Contractors Protection ordinance. There's a lot of stuff going on where there's a lot of line items in Seattle. And so I'm just trying to make that very clear in case you're wondering. The city also alleged that Uber Eats failed to provide required notice of rights, electronic receipts, and weekly statements as required by law. So this is where Uber Eats, in specific in this case, but they could probably go after a lot of these gig apps, and maybe they will be. But Uber Eats didn't, like we have it here in Colorado, as quarterly. Every quarter they need to submit all of the receipts that went to the customers and to the drivers now that we have transparency. And then that's how they audit, which makes sense. Because if you ever had to go into one of these, if you ever had to go into audit a algorithm by these guys, good luck. And I mean, I think all of us, not even if you don't even need any coding background or anything like that. I think we all agree that, do you trust Uber with this algorithm? They do things just to screw around with us drivers all the time. DoorDash, all of them. So, I mean, like, do we trust that they wouldn't have loopholes to send an audit down the wrong tunnels and stuff to different sets of digital cookbooks, let's call them? Anyway, these Uber receipts are what's supposed to prove them. As the largest settlement in OLS history, that's that 15 million. This sets a new benchmark and represents a significant milestone for the protection of workers' rights in Seattle in the rapidly growing industry of the app-based work. So that's the director of Office Labor and Standards, Stephen Marchese. Let's see. The alleged violations covered work between September 2022 and May 2025. Uber denied wrongdoing, but agreed to the settlement. It also paid more than $33,000 in fines to the city of city of Seattle. I'm laughing because they've paid hundreds of thousands, so I don't know why that's a big slap. And will adopt a new policy that lets workers provide more information about cancellations. We value the work couriers do and want them to be successful. We've worked with the city of Seattle to resolve claims about information provided to couriers on offers and pay, and we're focused on improving that experiences in Seattle for Seattle's couriers, consumers, and restaurants. Payment to workers is scheduled to be distributed by Labor Day next week. That's the whole 15 million against the 16,000 drivers. Did you guys catch what they said in the end of that second quote? And this is from Uber Eats. We've worked with the city of Seattle to resolve claims about information provided to couriers on offers and pay, and we're focused on improving the experience for Seattle's couriers, consumers, and restaurants. I've often lately spoken about how they've destroyed in many markets, but especially in Seattle, the relationship between the drivers, of course, even the restaurant partners. Yep. And the customers, they almost don't care about them. It's the weirdest business model of all time. In case you didn't catch it, they're saying we got caught. We weren't following the transparency law. We really weren't sure you're going to be checking on that. Our bad kind of thing. And now they're going to do it. See, this is different. And this is why this is important. And this is why the other states pushing a transparency bill would be important, because they are being held accountable for this. If you're one of those people who says 15 million isn't that much, okay, DoorDash, yes, you probably saw that they had to pay 40 million for a 2.5 year period that they stole all of the tips, and their excuse in every state was literally, we didn't know we couldn't do that. I mean, you can go find different statements, but the way that was all designed, it was designed knowing that they were hoping to get tips and those would come back into them. The historic $15 million settlement is a major win for workers and a strong reminder that in Seattle, we hold large companies accountable when they sidestep their responsibilities and shortchange workers. That's the mayor, Bruce Harrell, who said that in a statement. I'm not a big fan of all of the ways Seattle does all of their version of the AB5 type scenario. I do like Seattle's better than California's, and I definitely like it better than New York. And Boston is just too hard to understand yet, because they can't even get the 5% or 10, whatever they need to be able to organize those unions. So they're in a very weird spot that whatever it was, 3250 active time, drivers just aren't getting nearly as much active time now. And so it didn't, like we called it, it just didn't pan out. We knew why it wouldn't. So Seattle has been a leader in establishing worker protections for gig workers who make deliveries and drive people around town. Uber previously paid $3.4 million in a settlement with Seattle in 2021. The city also reached a $1.8 million settlement with DoorDash in 2023. It kind of puts the 15 million in perspective, but these were also big lawsuits. 3.4 to the city by Uber in 2021, 1.8 by DoorDash 2023. These are to the city of Seattle. I know this doesn't sound like huge money to you guys, but it is. It really is. Regulatory costs are part of why Uber fares in Seattle are the highest in the United States. No shit, really? Wait, so you mean your 17 line items, and most of them they just pass on to the customer, but all that's like making it more expensive? Really? Legislation's coming. Nothing we can do about it now except for try and get down the right path towards the right legislation. And there is a way that is much better than the other ways I've seen, and the ways that I have already seen play out. We are in the last 14 months. That's why I was calling it that window. It's going to be 13 months, not too long from now. So DoorDash also recently increased delivery fees in Seattle in response to what it called extreme regulations passed by Seattle lawmakers, including a new law that gives the app-based workers more transparency when they're removed from the platform. That is talking about the 14-day notice on being deactivated. Again, this is how different all states are. And the right to have a challenge or a human review after the fact. And for those of you that are wondering, going, wait, 14-day notice. What? So you get to do 14 less days? Maybe there's a small percentage who are saying weird, weird but cool, and maybe there's a large percentage saying, yeah, but they just won't send you any offers. Exactly.